A flea flicker is a very aggressive play call. The Tennessee Titans execute this one perfectly, and at this point of the play, you can see that both of the offense's receivers have space in front of them and are running free in their routes. Nicholas Westbrook-Akina is on top of the cornerback to the top of the screen running vertically downfield. If he bends his route towards the sideline, he can clear the deep safety and the cornerback beneath him to get open. Robert Woods is running a crossing route into the space behind Westbrook-Akina's route. He should be sprinting as fast as he can across the field to give Tannehill a window to drop the ball into over the top of the retreating coverage underneath. But Woods is a 30-year-old receiver who lost his explosion after a recent ACL tear, and Westbrook-Akina went undrafted in 2020 in large part because he has no speed to separate at this level. Despite being set up to win their routes by the aggressive play fake, both receivers are easily covered and Tannehill has nowhere to throw the ball. It's hard to believe that an NFL front office neglected their offense as much as the Titans have in recent years. None of their skill position players could run away from defenders. That meant Tannehill was playing in a condensed field and throwing into tight windows at all times. His numbers suffered and the offense as a whole suffered too, and then he got injured. So at 35 years of age, would Tannehill be a good starter for a new team in 2023? He should be available since Will Levis is now the heir apparent. Levis was drafted much higher than Malik Willis, so he has a much stronger presence as a succession plan. The first thing to understand with Tannehill is that his athleticism is still there despite his age. The former wide receiver senses pressure off the edge against the Eagles here and steps through the pocket into the right flat. Everyone downfield is covered and playing man coverage, so Tannehill sees that and he uses a pump fake to push the defenders closer to their receivers, opening up the space for him to gain 17 yards past the line of scrimmage. Any potential suitor also doesn't have to worry about Tannehill's arm strength. His deep ball is as good as ever, he just didn't have the receivers to show it off last year. You can see it here in this 43-yard completion to Treylon Burks against the Packers. He perfectly leads his receiver away from the defender who is trailing him underneath. Since he couldn't throw bombs all game, Tannehill relied on his arm talent to pry windows open on difficult throws into underneath and intermediate windows, such as this far hash 13-yard out route against the Buffalo Bills. In that same game, we have a prime example of the final aspect of aging to be worried about when it comes to a quarterback: taking hits and taking pressure. Tannehill doesn't wince against impending hits or against pressure. On this play, the Titans' left tackle is too easily thrown to the ground so that the defensive end is sprinting towards Tannehill at the top of his drop. Tannehill stands in strong, plants his front foot and delivers the ball with conviction so he can hit Robert Woods in his crossing route for the first down. Woods had a step on a defender in his route, but this was far from a wide open throw. Tannehill needed strong mechanics to make it work. Dating back to his Miami Dolphins days, Tannehill has always been a hugely underappreciated pocket passer, and it's that skill set combined with his athleticism that will help him age more effectively than the likes of Matt Ryan or Ben Roethlisberger. Let's break this play down into two phases. Both phases show elements of being a high-end pocket passer. From the overhead angle, we can see the linebacker showing zone coverage before the snap. He and Tannehill are going to duel each other mentally after the snap. From the moment he catches the ball, the quarterback's eyes stare down the curl route to his left. That gets the linebacker to shift his weight in that direction. That's all that Tannehill needs to hit the window inside where his shallow post route is going. But there is still an obstacle for Tannehill to get that ball to his receiver. From the end zone angle, we can see how it's not just Tannehill's eyes selling the throw to the outside. His body is shaped to throw underneath. He never resets his feet and he has to throw the ball sidearm to get it around the defensive tackle, pushing the pocket back into his face. Despite these disruptions to his throwing motion, Tannehill's ball arrives accurately and on time. It's a subtle action, but it's a great pocket play. Most great pocket plays require some level of subtlety, which is why they often go unnoticed. Robert Woods gets shut down on his sideline route on this play against the Eagles. This was a standard play for Woods last year. He simply doesn't have that vertical game anymore. Despite his inability to get open, Tannehill uses this route to manipulate a deep safety, this time instead of the linebacker. This opens the window for Treylon Burks, who is running down the middle of the field. If Woods had got in behind his defender, the safety would have been under more pressure to sprint across the field, and the touchdown could have been wide open. Since he didn't, the safety could still turn around and hit Burks at the catch point. But Tannehill was able to make a precise throw into a tiny window, and his rookie receiver held onto the ball through the contact for the touchdown. To top it all off, there aren't that many quarterbacks in the league who can execute and condense pockets consistently, but Tannehill is one of them. He elevates your offensive line, but it's not something commonly associated with him because he spent a significant portion of his career playing behind offensive lines that couldn't be helped no matter how good the quarterback was. Since the Titans built their offense around Derrick Henry, the personnel and scheme around Tannehill prioritised the running back position rather than the quarterback position. That set Tannehill up to make difficult throws by design. This wasn't an offense that schemed receivers open or relied on short and intermediate route combinations to make throws easier. This play is a great example of that. It's a hard play fake and 3 vertical routes to chase a big play downfield. The concept works on this occasion as the poster clears space for the wheel route, but even then Tannehill still has to make a precise throw over the trailing defender to his tight end. He's able to do that. Since the Atlanta Falcons are the most obvious trade suitor for Tannehill, and since the Falcons are coached by Arthur Smith who runs this exact offense, Tannehill's arm talent is a key detail. He has an abundance of it. The end zone angle of this throw against the New York Giants captures just how accurate Tannehill needs to be in this kind of offense. Not all quarterbacks can make this throw. And finally, since it's a run-oriented scheme, throwing on the move is also critical. For as long as he's been in the NFL, Tannehill has been unrivaled when it comes to making frontside throws on the move. That means throwing the ball towards the near sideline. Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers are probably better at him when it comes to working back to the middle of the field or throwing in the opposite direction while on the move, but Tannehill is at the top when it comes to throwing in the same way he's going. So we know the Falcons make sense, but who else does? There are a lot of teams in the NFL who would be better in 2023 with Tannehill as their starter rather than who they currently have. But taking recent moves into account, the market shrinks quite a bit. It's unlikely that the New Orleans Saints or New York Giants, for example, would make a move for him because of who they've got and who they've recently invested in. The Washington Commanders would need to create some cap space, but they'd be a playoff team with him at quarterback. Baker Mayfield is a starter for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's nowhere near Tannehill's level, and that team is ready to win now in a weak NFC. Apart from that, the Titans might be best set to hold on to him until quarterbacks start to get injured in August, September and October, and then the market might grow again. But either way, he's too good a quarterback to be on a team that's heading for a rebuild. He needs to be on a team that can contend, or at least just compete for a playoff spot.